CGQ office, private room 5521, Rio de Janeiro Federative Unit, Rio de Janeiro City, National State Brazil. Since you invited me, here I am. I will have this conversation using my second nationality as Portuguese and using the chair at NATO, and offering the support at the OECD in the same way, considering everything we did before. We did an independent effort, an academic research, and we are considering at that time a triple Nobel Prize. You had a lot of Nobel Prizes all around the globe, but they are unable to solve the problems, only create new problems. We have this situation, which is the East, West, the center or middle. We recommended to have review on areas connected and target the interconnected area, which implies the association of all areas. I bet you didn't consider this, because will solve your problem, especially if you had considered do this by authorities with legitimacy to kill. We could have the idea as the optimization of some elements available on IBM, maybe on AT&T, even especially on IBM, which was we have the cognitive level as database sigma, as deep blue. The deep blue, after have the review, can help me to understand the similarity between two big clusters of information, and this is a cognitive level. In the same way I can do this in each operation inside this big cluster of information by the DB2 two instruments failed on IBM, and this combined get me inside the quantification of an environment, and I can do a quantum research with more accuracy. We did the optimization of COBOL considering the internal values inside spaces, hidden elements, structure, and systemic organization. We will understand that in general those events will have attraction, interest, and tropism with prevalence of some attributes to keep the continuity of things that kind of goes in an outrageous way. The database sigma is a different idea. The database sigma is the purpose of information collected during a period since 1999 up to 2021 as an academic research to be applied against criminal groups, organizing scams, threatening the mankind, sometimes doing the threats against a single individual, and if goes in a diffuse area like consumes by inference, and with a simple and humble conclusion we can understand that weapons of mass destruction and genocide are something not far away from the reality that we live, and this got proved by the pandemic even. You will check in the same way that on present time we will observe that problems created by economists at economy won't be solved by the economy or by the economic groups or circles. Problems created at medicine and health are created by medical and health professionals at health but won't be solved by them. And this is coming to my area, which is business and administration. And for sure, I think that things will be blocked here. We will understand that problems created on economy by economies and in health by professionals, medical and health are kind of very close to criminal having a subsidiary argument or element as premise. It means that in the same way, let's suppose that problems created on IT, technology and communication won't be solved by professionals on IT, technology and communication. If you have an antivirus, a system or a cell phone with skill trained groups at public department committing violations, they will keep and continue the violation as a subsidiary element from time to time, even when you launch something new. In the same way, when you do your economic treatment for the diseases created as a subsidiary interest as purpose, which puts you at the tropism, won't be solved by economy because we will have groups creating and have new criminal solutions for the continuity of this scheme. In the same way on health system when we are having the cycle of vaccines. Do the contamination of someone by bacteria, by parasites won't help you. Only will expose a bit more about you. And I have no doubts in my heart that you must be sent to jail. The economic identity as general indeed will give me the yield. The yield give me the demand, and this demand is kind of the entire thing at my economy, and as a theory will be identical to the supply, but we are talking about theory. This on macroeconomy is presented as an essential identity which puts yield as consume plus investment plus government with cost plus the difference between export and import, which is one side of the identity. The other side of this identity will be the consume plus the saving account of families plus the taxation plus the spread at the liquidity manicure. This is my economical identity. I can consider this as a system, but not as a proper system because it's an identity. And I will check that when this is the perception structured from microeconomy, which has the result as supply which is equal to demand. But the supply and the demand, indeed, on present time, had been affected by something which is the price of things, and we advised you that the inflation will create a big problem, especially if you use it as a criminal interest. And you didn't consider this, especially on your Washington circles of economy that failed in all things and now is unable to solve the problem by economy. We will solve this at NATO using this chair and my second nationality as Portuguese. The inflation will affect the price, and the pricing is structured from inflation plus corrosive arguments during the disruptive period will put the thing here. The yield is set by the price of things. and then you are having the distribution of yield by tax stimulus. Your identity, which was used as a system, now has a dependence. The two both sides has a dependence of the government. But the government is inside the identity in the same way. It's an endogenous notation inside the identity and an exogenous argument to have the management of this identity. And this government has association as price maker and sometimes price takers, and has the association with tax because only this government do the taxation, considering not proper arguments as taxation. And nowadays you are having the inflation as a systematical and incremental behavior. We will observe that the Keynes economy as model have the internal product, the yield, the saving as one big block at your economy, the costs and the investment on the other side. This gives you the idea as, you know, the circle of all things inside your economy, and you have the marginalism, which will move the big square as economy in a space, I would say. But as we could observe, if we have an internal dot product as a failure and you monetize this failure, of course that your marginalism as trend will be oriented by failures. And then you have your subsidiary arguments doing the decisions about the price, the taxation, and the inflation, leading you to questions that must be made to this variable here as an exogenous element inside the economy to understand how this decision can put this exogenous argument as a covariance inside the economy as identity. And if this go by subsidiary purpose, in the same way we couldn't solve the problem by higher levels of security and technology or better pills and medicines to cure disease. You won't be solving this by the economy. You must send criminals to jail. You must do procedures threatening mankind by authorities with legitimacy to kill. You had a model designed to have 3 boats until 2028. The first one this year, 2022, considering the public budget, Brazil, and criminal scams inside. The second one considering the Heinz, America, and the risks on Europe by weapons of mass destruction and biohazard at the supply chain. The last one by questions that you must do at the American government considering the society and the silence of them all. You will check that on present time we will observe that some areas had a big stock as food and essential needs, considering the disruptive element and the demand as something that will go and then can have the price of all things skyrocket and have the gains by the hyperinflation as index. You forgot something as consumer, that food and all items as essential items that you had to purchase in the stock had a period to be consumed, and this period when it comes to the deadline is indeed something that you had as a cost and you will have no payback. You had a huge storage of things that if no one buys, and in the same way we won't be able to buy this as consumer market. You had the big rotten structure storage inside your economy. You are broken. Can you get your situation? And the leadership associated at this must be sent to jail by a criminal scam in global scale. One more time, evidence, proved and failure, because we are dealing with cretinism and idiotism in all ways. Have a nice week.